And this is going to be an introduction to Swedish military research. And again, I'm going to stress introduction because there's a lot to learn within military research. And I will be giving an overview of the various types of conscription methods. And then most of my presentation will be emphasizing the allotment period from 1682 to 1901. You will do a case study where we look for a soldier in a general muster roll. And we also will look for a cavalryman in a general muster roll. Also, we'll do two searches for a boatsman, one in the early 1800s, and then also one for latter part 1800s where we actually see a boatman's service record. Stamp court, or the draft registration and service military card for someone serving in the Swedish military in the 20th century. And then I'm going to point out where you can find information about other types of military records, because there are lots and lots of military records and some additional resources. Okay, prior to 1682, there was something that was called the older Allotment System, or utskrivning in Swedish. And this was every fit man in the villages and farms where they were grouped together in a ward or rote. And then one man was selected or involuntarily recruited for the infantry and the Navy. The cavalry was usually voluntary, and these people were paid during wartime, but no pay during peaceful times. And there were a large number of deserters. So in 1682, there was a reorganization, a method for reorganizing and also financing the military. And this was called allotment or indelningsverk. And this was for the infantry, the cavalry, and the Navy. And then in 1818, there was something called the Bevaringen, which was sort of a supplement to the allotment system that was introduced. And here, men between 21 and 25 were required to participate in military training. And the initial age varied at certain times. Also, the time of the training also varied. But initially, it was like for training for 12 days. And then in 1901, universal military service was enacted. And that continued until 2010. And then at that time, the armed forces became all voluntary. And then again in 2017, universal conscription was again reenacted. And at that time in 2017, people that were born in 1999 or 2000 were required to register. So these will be supplementing the professional Army Corps. Okay, as far as allotment, the period is 1682 to 1901. And this is a period that, most people that are studying their immigrant ancestors are really interested in. So again, it was a new method of financing and organizing the armed forces. There were also some enlisted forces, and these were primarily in the cities or the forts. They were primarily guards, artillery, and garrison. And I'm not really going into those today, but they did exist. Now, for the infantry, that was usually between 1,000 and 1,200 men and divided into 8 companies. Each company had about 150 men. And then for the cavalry, that was usually around 1,100 and divided into 8 companies. And each company was about 125. For the Navy, the basic military unit was called a company, and like 100 to 200 men. Each company belonged to a naval station. So for the enlisted regiments, again, there were only a few that were enlisted, and these enlistees were paid a cash salary. And again, they were based in the major cities. And again, there were guards, garrison, artillery. One example is Göta Livgarde. And then also some of these enlisted regiments had their own parish. So if you're looking at the parishes within Stockholm City, you will see some military parishes. Soldier names. I think I've heard thousands of questions in my lifetime on soldier names. When anyone joined the military, they were given a unique soldier name. And sometimes it could be representing a personal character, might represent a military term, or was a place where the soldier served. And the reason that they were given a unique name is that they just couldn't have 50 Johan Andersons running around. They needed to be able to distinguish each person. Now, some kept their military name after they were discharged from the military service, and then others returned to the patronymic name. And you have to be very flexible, especially when you're searching for some of these people that immigrated. I've seen cases where they actually joined the military, and in the household record, it does have the military name. And then on the household record that actually shows them immigrating, again, it has the military name. But then if you look at the passenger ship manifest, they've gone back to the patronymic. So again, I just want to recommend that be very flexible in your searching. How do you identify that your military, how do you identify that your ancestor served in the military? Well, there will be a title. And someone noted Soldat son. Soldat is for soldier. Connect. And usually these people were in the infantry. Or you might see Reader or Dragon or Hussar. That person was in the Cavalry. Or Boatsman. And these are some examples that you might find in the records. In the household records, you might find it in the birth record for the father of a child. You might find it in the death record. So this is how you know that your ancestor, was in the military. What are the key records? And for the allotment period, the primary source is the general muster rolls. And these were kept by the respective regiments about every 3 or 5 years. It will vary. And the type of information that you receive is the soldier's name, sometimes both the soldier's name and the patronymic, not always, the regiment and the company number, the birthplace, the residence, the age, the years of service, the height of the person, and then also notes from the previous muster and also the past previous and also the current muster. So we'll start with the infantry. And here there were a number of farms that made up a rote. And these farmers were contractually responsible for recruiting a soldier and actually supporting him. So they provided the residents, the Soldat Torp, some land, food, and allowance. So in a way, this is sort of some, guaranteed income in a way for this particular person. Now the soldier was required to go to war when summoned. And if there was a special project, maybe working on a canal, he might be summoned to do that. Now, if he died or was discharged, his wife and children were required to move to make a place for the new soldier. So we heard about that earlier from someone in the audience. How do you search for it? We're going to do a case study for an Anders Johan Elm, and he was from Stockeryd in Jönköping. He joined the military in 1861. And I'm going to show you the steps we're going to look at a tool called Grill to identify the regiment and the company. So in order to find the general muster roll, you need to know the regiment and you need to know the company. So you have to find that information before you can search for the general muster roll. So here is a household record, and it's from Stockeryd, and the place is Halleryd and Södergården. And on it, it says Soldat, which is soldier, number 44. And that was his soldier number. His name was Anders Johan Nilsson Elm. So Nilsson was a patronymic and Elm was a soldier name. So what we're going to use is a tool called the Grill. And this is an entry point into the general muster rolls. It's really the statistical digest of the Swedish Army system. And it really consists of 4 volumes. It was 4 printed volumes plus a parish index. And ArkivDigital has actually scanned those volumes and they're now on ArkivDigital. For a long time, you would have to go to a library, and there weren't very many libraries in the US, maybe the Family History Library in Salt Lake City, a couple of universities that actually had those volumes. There was a CD a long time ago, but now we do have these volumes scanned on ArkivDigital. And and they were created in the 1850s. So the first volume has information about the cavalry, the second one, the infantry, the third, the Navy, and the fourth for extra districts. So the way you find it is you go into archive info, archive search, and then put Grill. And just put Grill, and that will bring up the archive for Grill. And then here you get 5 volumes. And the first one has Trick Literature Grill Register 1. That is the parish index. And then there's a grill 1, 2, and here it's 4, and then 3. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look in the parish index, because that's going to tell you which one of these volumes to look at further. So this was Stockerreed Parish in Jönköping, and the book is in alphabetical order. So there's a 1, and that means it's for the Cavalry. But we're looking for the infantry. So that's volume 2, and that's on page 168. So I go back to the archive for the grill. I go to grill 2, and it says printed documents, and I click on that, and I go directly to page 168. And I'll blow it up a little bit here, if I can get it. Here it says Stockerreed. I see Hollerreed, 44 and 45, there were torps. And over here, and since this is a screenshot, but if I were in the application, I could rotate the image, but it is Kalmar Regiment. Now, the other thing that I need to now know is the company. So if I look here, I see a number 8. And you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's actually 8 columns. To go up here to the top, that's representing the company, but I don't know what the company is from this page. So then I need to go back a couple of pages to the beginning, and then I look at page, here it says, number 7 is the Vestra Harald Company. So I now know where this guy.
2 minutes.
Okay, I now know for this soldier Elm, who's from Stockerreed, that he actually was in the Kalmar Regiment in the Vestra Harald Company. If anyone, please, can you unmute? I'm sorry, mute. So we're going to head and search for this. So we're going to go back to archive, and we're going to go to archive, we're going to the index search. And then under that, we're going to look for quick find general muster rolls. And again, this is another tool that is making it easier to search in the general muster rolls. So we do that. And then you can actually search from years, or in this case, the regiment. And if I put in the regiment Kalmar, it's going to bring up a list so I can just highlight it. I did have to put in the Vestra Harald Company. And then when I search it, I get 72 records. So the first record is from 1711, and the last one is 1886. So the general muster rolls usually in the early to mid 1880s. And then here, I just want to limit the search further for the years 1860 to 1872. So you notice it's 1863, 1866, 1869. There's 2 of them, also one for 1872. So I'm going to click on the one for 1863, and it goes directly to the page for that particular company. This is 1863 for the Vestra Harald Company, and the index record gives that same information. And then I now know that the muster was taken on the 27th of June, 1863. Now there will be a few pages giving information about the officers in the company, and then after that will be followed with the soldiers in a soldier number order. So here is one. I'm going to blow it up here. It's a little bit light. And here's that soldier number 44. The first column is for the regiment number, but really I'm interested in that soldier number, the company number. This is a place where he served in Hollerreed in Stockerreed's Parish in Jönköping. And then here's information, and it says Johannes Elm. He was discharged on the 28th of March, 1861, but then he was replaced with the person that we're looking for, Anders Johan Elm, who was formerly named Anders Johan Nilsson. So we also have the patronymic name here. That's not true in all general muster rolls. He said he was born in Stockerreed, and then also that's in Jönköping County, and he was born on the 18th of June, 1839. and then he entered the service on the 28th of March, 1861. Now it's important to remember that this is a muster roll in 1863. So he's now 24 years old, but he's now been in the service 2 years and 3 months. And we have his height, he's 6'6". He's unmarried. And then this is the previous notes from the previous muster. He wasn't there. And then here it says his recruitment was approved at this particular muster. So then I can go further again, and I can follow him in 1866 and 1869. And the information is pretty much the same, other than that he's actually 3 years older and he served 3 more years. And then it does show that he was approved for recruitment the previous muster, and he was present at that one. We go down to 1869. Again, you know, the age and years of service changes, and it says he was present at that one and also the previous one. If we go to the one in 1872, he's actually discharged. And this is what it says here. It just says Anders Johan Elm, and he was discharged on the 13th of April, 1872. And now he's replaced with an Anders Magnus Elm. And you notice everyone serving at this particular torp, their soldier name is Elm. And then after that, it says this person has their patronymic name and also their birthplace and birth date. So we've actually been able to follow this guy through the general muster rolls following his career in the infantry. Another one was the Cavalry. And here it was the roost hole. It was usually a large farm or estate, could be sometimes several people. And they had a personal relationship or contract with the crown. And they provided a cavalryman with a horse and also housing and some land. And the cavalry was called a reiter. And sometimes the horse was more important than the person. So you're going to see information about the horse in these records. The example we're going to use is for Hussar, or cavalryman, Larsfeldt, from the parish of Ventrosa in Örebro County. And he joined the military in 1829. So again, we need to know what regiment and what company. And we're going to look in the grill to search for it, but I'm also going to show you how to search in the Central Soldiers Database, which is a free site, because that can be helpful in some cases. So here he is in the household record. It says number 54, has Sabi, sort of the torp, his name, and we have his birth date, Ventrosa. So again, we go back to the grill and we open that archive. We look for the parish index, and then we search for Ventrosa. Now, since he was in the cavalry, we need to go to volume 1, and that's on page 127. So I go back, I go to grill 1, and then I go directly to page 127. Here's Ventrosa, here's Sabi. Over here, it has the name. It's the Leaf Regiment Hussar Corps. And then I can go back, and up here, the first time it says since 1833, before, and I go back here a minute. There was actually an entry, a number 8 in the 2nd column, and also one in the 7th column. So one was column 2 was Örebro, and the second one, Örebro Company. But sometimes, the first time I looked at that, I was a little bit confused. So I went to what we call is the Central Soldiers Register, and this is in your handout, but this is a link that you can go to. It's a free site. I think it's pretty much manned by volunteers. And not every person has been indexed, but you can search by the soldier's military name, or even the patronymic, the birth date, when they joined, the regiment, even the parish. But I did it by Felt 1812. I got 2 hits. The one, it was actually for the same person, but the one for 1829, I clicked on that, and it actually gave his patronymic name, his birth year, when he entered 1829 to 1835, gives the company, also the parish, and then also we have the regiment. So I just want to point this out. This is also another place that you can go to search. Again, this is not complete, but it can be helpful. So now I'm going to go and search. And again, I'm going back into the index search. Under index source, a quick find. And here I put in the years 1829 to 1860. I put in the regiment, that Leaf regiment, and then I also just put Orebro. And you notice here, I get, for 1829, I get one roll over the horses, and then also one over the actual people. And it's actually in the same volume, but it's just two different entry points within the same volume. So when I actually look at for the people, and I go to number 54, that was his number in the household record. Sabi was the sort of the torp. These are the people, the roost holders, and this is a percentage that they were paying. So we got their names. And then here we have Lars Velk, and it just says he was born in Arka. He's 20 years old, and he's been in the service for 2.5 years. And then we enter it, it's got his height, and then also he says he's unmarried, and then it says that he was officially approved in this particular muster. Now, if I look for the horses, it's a roller over Histener, go to 54, Sabi, again, we've got the roost holler, but here we got a description of the horse. It was brown with left white hind legs. He was 15 years old, the mare. And we have the size of the horse. And evidently the person who had served there previously at that particular torp, actually the horse, he used that horse. And then currently this horse is sick in the hospital, you know, animal hospital in Stockholm. And then if I won't go into it, but I went to the next one, general muster roll, and the person had a new horse. Okay, for the allotment, and this is for the Navy. These are recruits, they were called boatsmen. And a number of farmers in the coastal areas formed a rote, and they had to recruit a boatsman and provide him with a crop. So this is a lot, you know, along the coastal areas. So I got a place to live and also a uniform. And these are organized by companies versus regiments. And the records are similar to the general muster rolls, but it's a little bit different search here. You have to go to the archive ruler Fluten for 1635 to 1915, and then the volume ruler Boatman's Company, volumes 4, 1 through 79. And then we also have boatsman rolls for the latter part of the 1800s, where there were service books created. So here is a household examination book for Sven Lindstrom, and this is in the parish of Yemsho. This is in Buckingham, and there's a lot of boatsmen in that particular parish. So, and he was living in Coromola. And then here, this is a later one, and this one actually gives his boatsman number 501. So now, that's not the way, okay. Okay, let me go back. So I'm going to go, I need to find out what company. So I go to Grill again. And then I go to actually the printed, the parish list, and I look for Yemsho. And that's going to point me to volume 3, which is 14, page 14. And volume 3 is for the Navy. So then I go back here to the Grill archive, look at Grill 3, and then I go to page 14. And down here is Yemsho, and over here it says it's the Bleckinghams and Delta Company. So I know the name of the company. So now I have to go to archive search, and I can just put in Roller Fluten in the archive holder box. And the one I want is Roller Fluten 1635 to 1915. And I select that. And there's over 1,000 volumes. So what you need to do is filter it. So I'm filtering it on a Boatman's Company. And then that puts it down to 16. But then also there's an I box with information. So it gives me a little bit more information. Since it was a Bleckingen, I put Blekking and filter for Bleckingham. And then I find one for the 1831. And I open that volume. And then I look for that boatsman number 501. And I have the name, Sven Haraldsson Lindstrom. I have the year that he entered, 1830. He was 22. Now this muster roll is from 1831. So he's now 23. He's been there for 1 year. And actually, this is saying that he's inexperienced as a sailor, but also he was approved to become a boatsman in this particular muster. This is in 1841, 10 years later. And again, this actually has his boatsman number, his name. Says that he entered again, 24th of September, 1830 at age 22. This one has his birth date. Says he now has 11 years service. This column gives his title or his experience level. It says ditto, but above it, it does say experienced at sea. So again, this is an example of searching for a boatsman record. Okay, in the latter part of the 1800s, we have some wonderful service records for these boatsmen. And these you can actually search by name. And this is for an Erik Eliasson Bergstrom. And he's again from the parish of Ljumsjö in Bleckingham. He joined the Navy. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to index search and look for boatswain active list. And we find this is a household record. And you notice this B. You see this a lot. That's a B. And if you see that in like the Ljumsjö or some of the parishes within Bleckingham, you can be almost certain that it's representing boatsman with the number 243. And we got his name, his birth date, and his birthplace. So then we go into index search. And under index source, we look for boatswain active list. And you can do a simple and advanced search. I'm actually searching on his military name, that Bergstrom, and I did an asterisk, B-E-R-G-S, an asterisk for a wild card. But I also can search just with the boatsman number 243. And here I get one match, which actually has his birth date and the parish and then the company. So here is the index record, has his first name, his patronymic, and also his boatsman name. It was date of birth, birth parish, also the company, and again, the number, and then a link to the booklet. So this is a regular booklet, and the cover page actually has the boatsman number, the military name, the name of the company. And then the first page is sort of a summary of his service career. It has his birth information, such as birth date and birth parish, the date that he enrolled. Also, there's a physical description and also discharge information. So if we look at this a little bit closer, here it says he was born on the 23rd of February, 1834. We have the parish. And then it says that he entered on the 18th of December, 1852. And we have his patronymic, Erik Eliasson, and he's 18 years old and 9 months. He's unmarried. And then down here it says that he was discharged for age and sickness in 1886. So he joined in 1852. So he was actually in as boatsman for 34 years. And then over here, we have a description, a physical description when he joined. He was medium size, he had light brown hair and blue eyes. And then we go forward, and it really gives his service record, you know, saying the different ships he was on, you know, what his position was, sometimes the name of the captain. And then the last page will actually have a page on punishment. And this particular guy actually did have a couple of times he was punished. The first time he deserted, and he had 4 days of arrest time. And then 1863, he was drunk, and he had 6 days of punishment. So now we've actually looked at the infantry, the cavalry, and the boatsmen. Now in 1901, there was compulsory military service for males. And there was a draft registration number, and it consisted of 3 parts: a personal number, a company code number, and a year. And you will often find this number in household examination books after 1885. So here's an example. This is for a Tur Ungarius. I'll blow it up a little bit here. It says he was born the 10th of April, 1892. And then over here, there's a column with a draft number. And you'll see this, his number is 283-19-1911. So he entered the service in 1911. So we can search for this military service card. So again, these are from 1902 to 1950. So it usually means people born between 1881 and 1930. And this can be helpful sometimes when a person has an ancestor that may have immigrated in the 1920s and they did serve in the Swedish military. You can go here and search to maybe find out where they were born. I have run into this a few times. There are people who did immigrate in the late 1920s and early 1930s. So here we have an index search, military service cards, and you can actually just put in that military service number. And then I got a hit for this Tura Ungarius Norden, and we have his birth date and also the parish. Here you get the index record, again, with the name, birth date, and birth location, that draft registration number, the active list area, and also the registration area, and then a link to the original record. And there are 2 sides to the record. So the first side actually has sort of the draft card. Here's the number again, the name of the person, information about the birth and birthplace, his infantry. And then here is talking about some training, initial training that he received. And then this is sort of similar to the National Guard here in the United States. So he was going back for service or training up until 1934. So that's recorded here. And then if there was any punishment that he received, that would be noted up here. In this case, there wasn't. So that's sort of a brief introduction. I want to point out one of the best resources if you're really serious about Swedish military research. It's Hans Hogsman's Swedish and Genealogy site. And it's both in Swedish and English, and he's translated most of the articles that he's written in Swedish into English. This is a fantastic site. He keeps updating it all the time. I cannot recommend this high enough. I love this site. At Swedish military, you sort of see his information about the allotment system, military uniforms and weapons, also Swedish wars and battles. His information about the different regiments, conscripts in the national service, Swedish military ranks. Also, he has tutorials on how to do Swedish military research, and he uses a lot of examples from ArkivDigital. So, and he has a great Swedish-English dictionary, for military terms. So again, this is just a wonderful, there's a lot more on the site than what I'm pointing out. But let's say that you find out your ancestor actually served in maybe the Westmanland Regiment. You can go here, click on that, and you can get more information. This is just the top page, but sometimes it will even tell the battles that that particular regiment served in. So again, this is a wonderful site, and so much of it is in English and available to you in English. So I can't say enough about it. He's got other articles and other aspects of Swedish genealogy, which are also very good. But this is just a great site. It is in your handout, but I really would bookmark it if you are serious about Swedish military research. Okay, again, I'd like to point out that we now have a book, and there is a chapter on Swedish military research within the book. It's called Explore Your Swedish Heritage. It was written by Håkan Skogsjö. It's now been translated into English. If you go to our website, you can buy the book. It will go directly to the American bookseller. It's $35 plus the shipping. If you live in Canada, we are making arrangements for a Canadian bookseller, and they should get the books, I understand, tonight. So it should be available next week. So you might send us an email as to where you should purchase the book, because the shipping cost coming from a Canadian bookseller will be cheaper than coming from a US bookseller. Okay, we also have an offer for a beginner's package, and this will continue even after RootsTech. It's a 3-month subscription plus a book, It's 995 Swedish kroner, which is about 120 US dollars.